Welcome to Flip Lesson 92 for the 6th grade. As we look at this lesson today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little review, add a few more steps, and then just really put some application into things that have to deal with expanded notation and powers. So we start by looking at our first example. We see a rather large number of 3,802,000. And the idea here is, how do we put this into, first of all, expanded notation using powers? Right? So expanded notation, if you remember, we haven't done this for a while, but it's where we take the number and then we multiply by its place value in terms of powers of 10. So in this case, this would be 1 times 1 million. And so we have that idea. However, we want to use the idea of power. So we want to change this number into a power of 10. And in general, when we look at powers of 10, we can say 10 and how many zeros behind it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th power, 10 to the 6th power. So really we write it like this, 3 times 10 to the 6th power. And then that's added to our 8 then, which is going to be 8 times 10 to the, right, we got 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0. So it's going to be the 5th power, right? And then we're going to add 2 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 3rd power. And so we have that idea. That's a review idea, but you can remember what that looks like and the basics for how that's done. Then, on to some new stuff. We've looked at order of operation already, but now we want to add in 2 ideas that we just recently learned about this year, is the idea of exponents and square roots and how these things come together. And it all has to do with this little acronym. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. What? What does that have to do with math? Well, let me show you. Really, it gets into the entire process. We can take the different steps it takes to answer these ideas or solve these solutions. So, step 1, it's the same step as we've had before, but we're going to start with whatever is in parentheses, and we're going to follow the rules within those parentheses. Step 2 now, though, is we're going to put this one in before we multiply and divide. So this is our new step, really, is we're going to deal with our exponents. When we deal with our exponents, we're really dealing with our powers, you know, so that little number above a big number, or we're dealing with our square roots of whatever it might be. So you have those examples, but that's what exponents is dealing with. And then we're going to multiply and divide, always going from left to right with all these things, and then we're going to add and subtract. So let's try one of these problems together. I gave you actually a pretty long one. You probably won't have anything quite this intense in your homework, but it serves as a great example to really follow those steps, right? We start with the please. Please means parentheses, and it says we want to solve what's in our parentheses. So here are our parentheses, and within our parentheses it says 4 plus 10. And of course, you can do that in your head. That gives us an answer of 14. And so really our equation now looks like this, right? The parentheses have been replaced by the answer of 14. So step number 2 says, let's work with our exponents. We're going left to right, dealing with our exponents and our squares. So here's our first one, square root of 64, right? What times what equals 64? Of course, that's going to be 8. And then we have we want to deal with this idea, 4 squared, that's a 16. And then we have this last idea, which is 16 square root, which is a 4. And you can see how all that stuff fits in right there, just like that. All right. Okay, so now we're on to step 3. Step 3 says multiply and divide going left to right. And so we would start here. This is our leftmost. So 24 divided by 6 going to give us a 4. Here's our next division. That's going to be a 7. And once we actually found this product, this 7 is going to actually be multiplied by this 6, and so we're actually going to get a 42 for an answer there. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's get rid of that. And now you see in red what we've done there. And now what we're left with is We got interrupted. Gene video decided to stop. All right, so the gene video got caught off kind of in the middle of this problem. I think the video covered what happened here as we were dealing with our multiplication and division down here, and how we came up with our red numbers of 4 and 42. But in the end, you can solve for this and you can work with this and see exactly what happened. But now we can just subtract, because we're at the end. We're going to add and subtract left to right. So 18 minus 4 is 14, and then we're going to add 8, so that's going to give us 22. Then we're going to subtract 16, which is going to bring us back down to 6, right? Yeah, that sounds right. And then we're going to add a 42, which is going to bring us back up to 48, and then we're going to subtract a 4, which gives us a final answer of 44. So lots of steps here. But in the end, you can see the process and all the different steps of doing order of operation. Okay, so we've looked at writing and expanded notation. We've looked at order of operation with exponents and square roots. And now we have one last concept that's going to fit into this lesson. That last concept is how to deal with fractions with exponents, or in other words, powers, right? So you have this example that says 3/4 to the 3rd power. Now, what are you going to actually do here? To do this, what you have to really pay attention to is, are there parentheses or not, right? If I wrote this, 3 to the 3rd over 4, that really means just this idea is being cubed, not the entire idea, right? Because this cubed applies just to the 3 here. However, as we look at the problem on the right in the middle here, we see that these parentheses sit here and the power is on the outside, which means that this power applies to the entire number inside those parentheses. So what does that mean? That really means that we have 3/4 times 3/4 times 3/4. And so we can solve for that. So 3 times 3 is going to give us an answer of 27, while 4 times 4 times 4, that's 16 times 4, gives us an answer of 64. And so we have the cubed root of 3/4. Now when you get to the end of this, we want to say, okay, can this fraction be reduced? And looking at the factors, I have 1, 3, 9, 27, okay. And here I have 1, 2, 4, not a 6, but an 8, and 4 would be 16, and 2 would be 32, and then 64. Okay, nothing is matching, so this is in lowest terms. It is in lowest terms. All right, these are our concepts, right? Expanded notation, we have fractions to the power, and then, of course, finally we have using order of operation to solve problems. Here you go. That's lesson 92.